Good morning. Oh my gosh, it's Wednesday already. Can you hear me over there on Facebook? I know we've had some microphone issues. If you could just verify that everyone can hear me before I get started, that would be great. Good morning. Hi. I've got one over on Facebook. Can you just say hey or like wave or something if you hear me? So I have been up north in Flagstaff for a few days, so I'm well rested, which is good. It's like after sitting at home for, happy birthday, Leah. That's great. Happy birthday. We've got someone's birthday. My birthday's coming up too in a few days. And kind of a funny story, yesterday we were up in Flagstaff. We've been there for a few days, just kind of getting a change in scenery. And my husband and I both woke up and had our coffee and sitting outside and playing with the kids and whatever. And then he went to go check Facebook for something. We were off social media the whole time. I'm not sure why he went on Facebook. And it reminded us both that it was our wedding anniversary yesterday. Both of us had completely forgot. Which to me, I mean, it's been 19 years, so I go, okay, maybe it's just we've been married for so long we forgot. But the funniest part for me was I think it's partly like this isolation. We never know what day it is. I didn't even know what date it was. Like, I honestly didn't even like pay attention to the fact that it was the 19th. But it did remind me that my birthday is coming up, which I probably also would have woken up and completely forgotten. So happy birthday to you, Leah. And I'm glad you remembered your birthday because I feel like I'm forgetting all these important things. It was my son's birthday and then our anniversary and then my birthday and then my other son's birthday. So now I'm going to have to pay attention to the date. I think both of us felt like we were both just like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. But the fact that we both forgot, I guess it was okay. But pretty funny. So anyway, I'm back in Phoenix. It was a great couple days. I know I wasn't here physically yesterday, and I apologize, but the internet was so spotty up there in the mountains, and I just thought, we'll be okay. We'll come back today with a good topic. So I'm here today to talk about an herb. It's Herb Review Day, and the herb that I am talking about today is a mouthful. It is called Eleutherococcus. That's what I said, Eleutherococcus, otherwise known as Siberian ginseng. Now, Siberian ginseng is different than panax ginseng. So like when you go and you have tea or people say to take ginseng for energy, most of the time they're referring to panax ginseng, which is Asian ginseng, okay? Eleutherococcus is different. It's not in the same family. It's called Siberian ginseng. However, it's not really a ginseng. There's been kind of a problem with the name, the nomenclature of it over the years. But Eleutherococcus is not as stimulating as, say, your traditional ginseng. So that's one of the side effects of Asian ginseng, is that in some people it can make their heart race or make them feel a little bit on edge. Siberian ginseng, not so much. So I will call it today Eleutherococcus, or Siberian ginseng. I'll just kind of switch between it. But this herb is really important. Why? Because it does a wide variety of things, but what it primarily does is it's an adaptogen. Now, adaptogen means that when stress hits your body adapts to it. So how you adapt is how you respond. So using my common example of like if you're in the woods and you see a bear, some people aren't going to freak out when they see a bear. Some people are just going to be like, oh, all right, well, I'll back up slowly and go about my way. Won't really impact them. Other people are going to freak out and run. And other people are going to dream about it and think about it and be worried about it, right? How we all react to stress is different, okay? So when the stimuli comes towards us, it could be the same stimuli. Two people could have the same job with the same level of stress, and one person will just roll it right off their back and keep going, and the other person will be totally overwhelmed by it, okay? So how we interpret stress, how our brain and our adrenal glands communicate in order to respond to stress is important, and that's what an adaptogen does. It helps us respond to stress better, okay, in a more calm state, right? I was watching over the weekend, my kids and I, because we were up north, with no video games and no phones and things like that. We were watching just random TV shows, which was kind of fun. And we were watching The Dog Whisperer, which is always a good one. And they were talking about how dogs have to have that level of calm, how they respond to stress, and you have to teach them calm. And I thought it was so relevant to us because, all of us can freak out over things. How we respond to a trigger or a stimuli or stress is all variable person to person. So why is it that we always blame the stress for the problem? Is it? Granted, I live under a ton of stress as well, but I'd like to think that most of the time I'm able to kind of take it in, deal with it, and move on. And that's been something I've had to train my body to do. It's real easy for us to blame the stress and our lives and everything going on around us. But the bottom line is there are tools out there that help us adapt, that help us overcome. And that's why I'm here, is to teach you some of those things. So let's talk about Eleutherococcus. For those of you joining, I am Dr. Trisha Pingel. This is your morning checkup, and we are going to talk about the herb Eleutherococcus, or Siberian ginseng. So, Siberian ginseng is native to China, Japan, and Siberia. Okay, it's been used for, forever in traditional Chinese medicine and other in other cultures for a variety of elements, primarily in its response to the immune system, but also as an adaptogen to stress. Now, traditional Chinese medicine is more of an Eastern philosophy. I actually just wrote an article on that at drpingel.com, and I'm definitely going to be doing a live on it coming up here either this week or next week on how that differs from Western medicine, because we're so used to Western diagnosis and Western treatment, but there's so much value in the Eastern philosophy and Eastern treatment. So I want you guys to learn more about that so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from when I talk about some of these herbs and why they can be such a valuable part of your health. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. That's another live coming up. So it also has a bazillion other names, which are not commonly referred to. So you may not have heard many of them, but like devil's shrub, devil's bush. Why the devil? I don't know. Touch me not, wild pepper. So those are some of the other names. So just as a reminder, and for those of you who missed it, this is not the same as Panax ginseng. This is not the same as Asian ginseng, okay? This is not really a ginseng altogether. It's a different plant. Somehow it got this name, okay? So they're all, you can eat the root, you can eat the leaves or the berries. The root is what's most commonly used in medicine, particularly as an adaptogen, and it's very readily available. Okay, now as far as how to spell it, for those of you on Facebook, it's written on your title. For those of you on Instagram, when I post this to IGTV, it will have the name on it, Eleutherococcus. So let's talk a little bit about where it came from. In the US, it didn't really start to be used much here until the 1970s. Now, that might have been from all the research that was done in the 1940s through 1960s in Russia. So Russian scientists did a ton of research on Siberian ginseng because they wanted to find a more cost-effective and readily available plant to use in place of traditional ginseng. Now, the problem was they're not the same, okay? Although they're both adaptogens, there's a lot more side effect to the Asian ginseng. They really found that it couldn't be comparable, okay? But they did study it a lot, and they found that, with any adaptogen, you can use it in healthy individuals or sick individuals. And I think that's something to note. A lot of people talk about what can they do preventatively to help with their stress. Any type of adaptogen in general in herbal therapy typically can be used in the well and the sick. And so that means that you're building up your normal function and supporting your function, or you're also repairing damage. So that's kind of cool, right? That it can be used in both sets of people. You don't find that with medications very often. You don't use an asthma inhaler in someone that doesn't have asthma, right? It doesn't make sense. In Western medicine, you have to have the diagnosis in order to use that therapy. In Eastern philosophy and herbal medicine, you can use a lot of herbs to actually prevent or assist in just boosting natural function and lowering risk of disease. So that's pretty darn cool, right? So Eleutherococcus is one of those wonderful herbs that I personally take it every day in a blend with other herbs, okay? And it does work really well in blends. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to some of the studies. But They found, let's see, Russian Olympic athletes, explorers, divers, sailors, and miners have used Eleuthero as a preventative against any stress-related illness. Now, if you know me and you follow me, you know that I pretty much can link stress to every single chronic disease we have here in America. So, if we can reduce the risk or the impact of stress on our body, we're only going to improve our health. Okay? I can't stress enough how much stress causes disease, okay? And how your mind has control over that. And you have to learn how to intake that stress so that your body does not have a massive reaction. Just like that dog that might be triggered by someone walking in the door, another dog isn't. So is it the fact that someone walked in the door? Probably not. It's the way that your body interprets that stress. Who runs away from the bear and who slowly backs away and puts it behind them when they get out of the way, right? So adaptogens are very important. Lifestyle is very important. Mind-body medicine is very important. Now, for those of you that are saying, yes, I know it, and a lot of people are asking, how do I do this? Do check out my website, drpingel.com. I do have a program that encompasses all that, so check it out because this is very important, okay? Eleuthero is one of these herbs that's part of what I use on a regular basis to help myself and my clients get well, okay? So let's go back to how awesome it is. And for those of you just joining, hello. Some of you later today. I don't think I was too early, but being back from vacation and being up in the mountains where the sun came through the window at like 4:35 a.m., I was up. So then when I got back to Phoenix, the sun still comes up, but we must have better curtains than the people up in the mountains. So I didn't wake up till 6:30 today. I felt like I had slept in till like 10 a.m. It was crazy. That's crazy. But it's nice to be home. But it was really nice to be up there as well and just to be part of the element. So thanks to all of you who skipped yesterday because I wasn't here. All right, so let's talk about some clinically proven ways that Eleutherococcus has shown benefits. So these are, I'm talking about studies that have been done. There have been numerous studies on this herb, many of which, and most of them, clinically controlled, double placebo, amazing studies on this herb, okay? Now, what I will tell you is they don't know the exact pinpointed mechanism of how it works. So they can tell you what it does. So all the research can say this is how it impacts the immune system or this is how it impacts stress. But as a whole, like when you look at the plant, they're trying to find the mechanism of action. Like does it block a certain enzyme or does it, what does it do directly that has all these things? They can't particularly pinpoint that yet, but they keep finding more and more things that it does, which to me is so exciting. Just loving herbal medicine, it's just too cool. Water. By the way, you need way more water when you're up in the mountains, which all of us Pingels just really didn't stay on top of the first day. So now I'm catching up. All right, as I talked about earlier, Eleutherococcus supports the adrenal glands. It's an adaptogen, okay? Your adrenal glands, for those of you that don't know, support your stress response. So when you see a bear or you're faced with stress, your brain communicates with your adrenal glands and releases cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine in order to put you in a panic state, okay? Now that panic state is very helpful in the short term because it makes you go, oh my gosh, how do I get away from the bear? Now in a long term, you're always in a panic state. That doesn't help you much because you're gonna miss details, right? So it's important for us to only be panicked very minimally. Unfortunately, here in America, we're panicked all the freaking time. All the time. And we need to stop being so panicked. We need to just take a deep breath. We need to reconnect our brain with our adrenal glands so that when a true panic comes along, when a true dangerous situation comes along, we can act. Okay? We don't want to be crying wolf all the time to our adrenal glands. So an adaptogen helps with that. All right? Now, this is similar to other adaptogenic herbs that I've spoken about, like rhodiola, ashwagandha, love ashwagandha, and some medicinal mushrooms also have this adaptogenic effect. So many of the adrenal gland formulations that you may find in herb stores have those all combined together, right? Because they work well in slightly different ways in an adaptogenic way. Okay, so how does Eleutherococcus support the adrenal glands? They believe what they found is that it supports optimal function of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex axis. Whew. All right, what does that mean in normal terms? It means the brain signaling the adrenal glands to release cortisol. So it acts on that communication between the input through your eyes that you see and you go, or through your ears and you go, oh my gosh, I'm in a panic. That input then has to translate to release cortisol. So it works on that input. Now that's very important right now. A lot of people are surrounded by panic. So other people aren't. Why? It's the way that it communicates through the brain to the adrenal glands, okay? So it's always good to support that. Eleutherococcus is great at that, okay? And also in conjunction with things like ashwagandha and rhodiola, okay? I'm glad to hear ashwagandha works great for you. Good. Me too. I love it. I take a combination every day that has rhodiola, Eleutherococcus, ashwagandha, has some ginseng. I do phosphatidylserine, all these adaptogenic herbs for the adrenal glands, because to me, if I'm not managing my stress, I'm putting myself at risk of disease. Simple as that, right? I may be otherwise healthy, and that's great, but there are things you can do preventatively to stay well, and that's important, right? And that's what I'm all about. Right? Is keeping you guys well. Okay, yes, it's about reversing some diseases at times or finding ways to manage diseases in a more healthy way. But ultimately, this whole goal is to keep people well to avoid disease, right? Because our bodies are smart and they know what to do. Okay, so it also has been clinically shown to improve fatigue. Chronic fatigue syndrome is a big one. Now there's a couple different aspects of that on how it works. A lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome have underlying viral causes like Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, okay? Eleutherococcus has been shown to impact the immune system against viruses. Now they haven't studied it directly, or they may have. I didn't have any studies that pulled up that I felt were strong enough to report, but any direct, on certain viruses. There's one, which I'll talk about in a second, that I did find a good study on. But in general, a lot of those conditions are due to immune impact from something. Okay, so it supports the immune system, which I'm going to talk more about in a second. But it also has been shown to increase oxygen perfusion, oxygen utilization in the body. So getting more oxygen to the tissues, which then of course wakes you up and makes you feel more energetic, helps with fatigue. Okay, so it has been shown to boost energy and stamina by improving hormone regulation and reducing oxidative stress on the body. Okay, and that was from a PubMed study. On to the immune system, because I do think this is a very important herb for immune function. Also, keep in mind some of the things we've talked about how stress impacts the immune system, right? How stress lowers immune function, right? So when you're using an herb that helps your management of stress and your understanding and translation of stress, that alone is going to help your immune system, right? Now, Eleuthero also has direct impact on the immune system. They see that it has to do with T-cell activation, which I won't get into, but they're not 100% sure, like the exact mechanism, but they notice improvements in immune system when people take it. So let's talk about some of those. It has been shown to lower inflammation in the body, which of course is very important. And there was an animal study, there was a cool animal study actually with tuberculosis, where they showed that it helped to stop tuberculosis from spreading in the lungs of mice. There was another animal study that showed that it helped limit the growth of tumors. And then further studies revealed that it can not only help protect against herpes simplex type 2 infections, but also reduce the risk of complications from the flu. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. And I have an even cooler study coming up on respiratory health. So it has a great impact on the immune system, great impact on the stress response, great herb altogether, okay? So it's been shown to support respiratory health as well. Now there's been a different variety of studies on this, but there was a clinical trial in 2015 that studied the antitussive effects. So there's like the ability to stop cough. So the antitussive effects of a medicine that was approved in Scandinavia for the treatment of respiratory tract infections. Now this medication or this herbal supplementation was a combination of 3 herbs, okay? One of them being Eleutherococcus, the other one being Echinacea, and the third one being Justica, okay? So what they did is they took I think it was 177 patients over a 5-day period that all had an acute respiratory infection. Now, they didn't look at what virus was causing that respiratory infection, okay? They just had common cold symptoms, okay? And they did 3 groups. They did the placebo group that took nothing. They did the group that took this blend of herbs, including Eleutherococcus, and they took a group and they used a medication, bromhexine, which is a mucolytic drug, so it helps clean up and remove mucus. And they compared the 3, okay? Let me find my study here because it's pretty cool. Okay, so they compared the 3 different groups and they found that the herbal group and the medication group relieved cough more effectively than the placebo. Okay, so the people that did nothing didn't have any effect on it. The people that took either of those other groups had a better cough suppression, okay? And then on the 3rd and 4th days of treatment, now this is important, on the 3rd or 4th days of treatment, they observed faster improvement in the recovery of those that were taking the herbal formulation versus the medication. So the medication suppressed the symptom, but didn't necessarily speed up recovery. The herbs suppressed the symptom and sped up their recovery. Pretty freaking cool. Why? Because herbs support the natural immune function, the natural, progression of our body. Often when we take medications, and I can't say that was the case in this study because they didn't go into further detail. I'm just speculating here. If you're suppressing a symptom, but you're not supporting the immune system and the natural body's ability to heal, it's going to be a little bit slower. You'll definitely feel better, right? Because the symptom's gone, but you won't necessarily speed up recovery any faster. This study found that it did. Now, that was not Eleutherococcus by itself. It was combined with other herbs. But if you've been watching me, you know that combining herbs is the best way to use them, which is why seeing an herbalist or a naturopathic physician or a functional medicine doctor that's trained in herbs is really important. Because you can get a lot done, going to the herbal store and just buying them individually from your own research. But if you can get your doctor involved, you'll find it to be more efficacious, okay? But that was pretty cool. I thought that was a cool study, wasn't it? Yeah. So that was in Scandinavia that they're using that blend. Smart. Hello, I see some people still joining. Nice to see you. Side effects. There really are not a ton of side effects, if any, in healthy people. Now, they have found some adverse effects in people with underlying conditions, okay? So, my little disclaimer, look, I'm not your physician. I can't tell you how to take it. I can't tell you if you can take it. I can only tell you the benefits and what's been studied. So you need to take this information to your physician and discuss it with them, because there are some medications that could interfere, right? There are some underlying conditions that may need different dosing. So it's really hard for me. People always ask, how much should I take? How much should I take? I really can't tell you unless you're a patient, right? Because I really, it varies. Now, there are standardizations on the label that have been approved, essentially. You can always call the supplement company as well. But in general, like as a whole, this herb is very well tolerated. So that makes it a great option to chat with your physician about, because it's really quite benign in that respect. Now, if you do have an herbalist on board or a naturopathic physician on board, using it in combination with other adaptogens and other immune boosting or immune modulating herbs would be great. So this is one of my favorites. For those of you that just joined in late, we were talking about Eleutherococcus. If you missed the whole thing, I always repost this, not only on my YouTube channel. I usually try to do it same day. Admittedly, sometimes I'm busy and I don't get to it till the next day, but I have it on my YouTube channel. I repost it on Instagram on IGTV, and I repost it on Facebook on my feed. So you guys can always go back and watch these, and if they're helpful to you, share them. Thank you so much for your comments. I love it. If you want more information on how you can manage stress, this little connection between the brain and the adrenal glands, what can you do to not be afraid of the bear? Check out my website. I have a ton of resources. I have a ton of other articles about this. That's all free for you to read. I try to put stuff out there that overlaps so that you can continue to learn more as you go forward. You know, you read about one thing and it'll link to something else that'll give you more information. So for those of you that really want information to arm yourself with to go talk to your doctor, drpingel.com can be a great resource for you. I do also have a program. It's a 30-day program that helps you retrain your body to manage stress better. That connection between the brain and the adrenal glands. Many of you are very good at that, and that's awesome. And I'm getting better at it as I go along, which I'm proud of. So it was nice to take 4 days in the mountains and just turn things off. In fact, I haven't checked in on the news or anything, so I probably should do that sometime this week, or maybe I won't. So anyway, thank you to all of you for joining. I'm Dr. Tricia Pingel. This is your morning checkup. I will be back tomorrow right around this time, 9:15, 9:30ish, Arizona Pacific Standard Time. Really nice to see you all. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Thank you. Talk to you later.